What a chapter, guys, right? Finally getting at least some level of closure on Megami, right? How Megami feels about this entire situation, how Yuji is going to handle Megami's feelings in regards to everything, whether or not Megami's gone or not, right? I think this was a great way to send off his character. This is Megami not even just talking to Yuji. This is Megami talking to all of the people that want Megami to come back against his will, that want Megami to suck it up. As Yuji and Megami share this last final discussion, Megami's mindset comes out very clearly, fully formed into sentences, and it shows that Megami isn't just hurting and acting irrational, right? Megami has fully thought out his surrender in this life. Megami wanted nothing more than to just create a world that Tsumiki was able to live and not face suffering in. He wanted to save people selfishly, save his sister selfishly from all the harsh realities of the world. That's why he fought as a Jujutsu sorcerer. That's why he fought battles and wanted to protect his sister as much as possible. That's why he fought in the culling game, to make sure that this world that his sister was in this dirty world that his sister was a part of, wouldn't hurt her in a way that he couldn't stop. And even if the world was a bad place, as long as he was there to watch it with her, he could have spent his days doing nothing. And this kind of goes into what Yuji was talking about, right? Every life has value in the last chapter. Even if you're just sitting around taking a shit, doing nothing, don't talk to anyone, your life still has value to someone or yourself in some way, shape, or form. And this is just the truest form of that, right? Megami admitting that the only thing he wanted out of life were those small fragmentary memories that Yuji is right now currently fighting Sukuna for every human to have a right to have, right? Now Sukuna is on the warpath of, I'm going to kill every single human because you look down on me. No one deserves to live now, Yuji. So you have Sukuna taking the extreme version of his side, and Yuji just getting even more resolve and showing that he understands his own side more than we even have. It's also, in my opinion, very fitting that Megami includes Yuji as someone that he would have liked to have spent some of those days with Tsumiki with. And it goes into all the way back in chapter 1 when Megami saved Yuji, right? Megami viewed Yuji as different than other people. Megami viewed Yuji as worth saving. He was a good person, unlike the other civilians and innocent people in the world that have harsh things that Megami, all the way back in the beginning of the story, says no one really deserves life. That's why he doesn't respect anyone. That's why he's a middle school bully. There's only select few people that Megami feels are worth saving in life. And Yuji, he confirms, was one of those people. And Megami admits that now that that's kind of impossible, there's no point to life anymore. He's trying to tell Yuji that this is it. My reasons for living are gone. There's literally no reason for me being alive. And now you could argue, oh, bum gumi, you know, all that stuff that everyone's saying. You could make that big argument that Megami is just a loser and needs to, you know, nut up. I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's believable. Megami's only 16 years old. Also, seeing Jujutsu Kaisen, seeing the beginning of Megami's story, or a potential version of the beginning of Megami's story in Gege's draft of Jujutsu Kaisen. In the beginning of that introduction, Megami's talking to a high school guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor is like, Megami, you're super smart. You're so talented. You're everything. We need to get you into college. We need to get you into a high-paying job. And Megami goes, nah, I don't care about that. And the counselor's like, what? He goes, yeah, I'll probably just work, you know, at my friend's corner store or something my whole life. He goes, I really don't care about achieving anything or doing anything. I'd rather be anywhere but here right now. And he goes home to his sister, and this kind of tracks with the Megami that Gege even originally came up with. This Megami has no reason to live, or even doesn't even view life as being valuable without his sister or good people like Yuji being around him. Yuji kind of telling things from his perspective to Megami, and ultimately going, you know, Megami, you're right. If that's how you truly feel, then I can't tell you any differently. I can't make you live. I can't make you be saved. It's the same lesson from all the way back in Hidden Inventory when Gojo did his best to try and save Geto. Obviously, sure, Geto became a homicidal maniac and was a villain that, you know, sought his own path. It's a little bit different from giving up on life entirely, but at the same time, Geto gave up on the sorcerer life and instead embraced this new life, whereas Gojo tried his best to forcibly bring Geto back to the old life, when that Geto was gone. He couldn't save that Geto because that Geto didn't exist anymore. Geto was this new person with this new belief and this new outlook on life that couldn't be changed. There was no one to save. Geto didn't want to be saved. Gojo had to realize he can't save people that don't want to be saved. And I think this is a lesson that Yuji came to much earlier than Gojo did in his life. Yuji even relates this to his grandpa getting cancer, and that, you know, his grandpa got lung cancer and it progressively got worse and worse. And he also started to have really strong reactions to the treatments and the chemotherapy and everything that he was going through, to the point that whether he was choosing to die of cancer or choosing to treat the cancer, his life was terrible. No matter what way he fought the battle, there was no way for him to see a light at the end of the tunnel. Every way out of the tunnel just seemed like more and more darkness and a larger and larger abyss. And obviously, Yuji, he has a hard time understanding people that give up like that. Even someone as close as his grandpa when dealing with cancer. But now that he's been through Jujutsu High, he's watched so many people die. He's watched so many bad things happen. He's met different curse spirits, met different outlooks on life, and has encountered so many tragedies that Yuji goes, you know what? Honestly, I've seen enough shit where I can understand where someone might call it quits. If you don't want to come back, that's your right. And I think that shows growth in the beginning here. And I think it's very important to mention because it shows that Yuji really is pushing Sukuna back and becoming a threat to Sukuna more and more as this fight has gone on, right? Where Sukuna declares that I'm not going to destroy the part of my brain and then reheal it like Gojo Satoru did during our fight. It's very risky doing that while also being affected by Gojo's infinite void multiple times. My brain is already fucked up enough as it is. If I start breaking pieces of it off and healing it, I may fuck myself beyond belief. It does seem that the whole point of this is for Sukuna to, instead of fighting with Hollow Wicker Basket, and do his best to kind of be neutral in Yuji's domain and hope Yuji doesn't break the Hollow Wicker Basket, Sukuna's just hoping that he can last long enough to get his own domain expansion back and go into a domain clash, which, to be honest with you, I don't know how strong Yuji's domain expansion actually is. Again, we still don't know what its name is and what the short hit effect actually is, but I still feel pretty confident in saying that if Sukuna is able to domain expansion, he should probably be able to override that domain expansion. Anyway, Yuji and Sukuna just start throwing hands with each other, which again, I think it's beautiful that Yuji is genuinely, you know, having a decent back and forth with Sukuna of all people. It shows not only how far Yuji's grown, of course he's getting probably stat boosts from being inside of his domain, and Sukuna also has 2 of his arms occupied at this moment, but it's enough to make, you know, Sukuna surprised, if anything. But I think Sukuna is more annoyed at the fact that Yuji, of all people, was willing to look down on him, which I have to imagine this is literally the first time in his entire life that Sukuna has ever experienced being looked down upon. Megumi, it seems, his soul actually springs back to life entirely. We're not sure what the ramifications of that are. We're not sure if Megumi is going to be able to fight back, if this is similar to chapter 214, when Megumi was literally holding Sukuna's output back and making Sukuna weak enough for Yuji to fight against. I do like how this is literally just a parallel. It's a mirror page of when Teen Gojo met up with young Megumi. And Teen Gojo's making the face at Megumi because he's like, oh, you look just like fucking Toji. God damn it. I wonder what the significance of this is. And in that moment, Megumi's 10 Shadows technique activates right in this moment, which is just beautiful. I have been saying time and time again how beautiful a Yuji and Megumi versus Sukuna fight would be, especially on the inside of a domain, on the mental plane. Yuji and Megumi doing their last 2v1 against the King of Curses after Yuji wakes Megumi up. But yeah, Sukuna is very worried now. He thinks that, again, Megumi has actually woken up and the bath has been null and voided. And as they continue to throw hands more and more, they are clearly in the ice and in the snow because Yuji's like literally kicking up snow into Sukuna's face. And then they both start grabbing each other, fucking throwing full-on punches at each other's face. They're literally, for a moment, just holding each other and cracking each other in the temple side to side. One of the craziest things in the world to me that happens in this short clash here, Yuji actually comes out on top. 5 chapters ago, Sukuna was tossing Yuji aside like chopped liver as soon as Yuta Gojo showed up, and now they're literally going punch for punch, and Yuji's breaking Sukuna's stance apart to the point that Yuji's punches are still fucking countering Sukuna's output, his reverse curse technique, and eventually Sukuna's worried that Hollow Wicker Basket is just going to break entirely. Sukuna has no choice but to forcefully heal his cooldown and regain dismantle. He throws slash attacks out immediately as strong enough to break Yuji's gauntlet here. Even though we don't get complete confirmation as to what the hell these gauntlets are, I think by the fact that Sukuna was able to break them with a dismantle attack just proves they were literally just a curse tool that Yuji might have been using to either empower his punches or something along those lines. Yuji's missing an extra finger here. Now, Yuji lost a finger. I'm pretty sure he lost his pinky. That was the finger that Sukuna used to transfer his body in essence over to Megami. Now, Yuji, after having the gauntlet broken, reveals that he's actually missing a ring finger. It seems to me that that is what Sukuna notices here, because the panel below, it has like the big shine on the fact that Yuji is missing that finger. A couple chapters ago, when we learned that Yuji harbored the soul, or at least was birthed from the soul of Sukuna's twin. But most importantly, what we learned from that short exchange was that Sukuna is actually at 18 fingers plus the head to make 19. Not only is there a finger missing, Yuji was always originally born with a finger inside of him. So Yuji always was the final finger from the very, very beginning. The question is, where is that second finger? A lot of people have theorized, you know, Rika ate it. We know, and we've gotten confirmed for a fact, that Yuji and Yuta did soul swap train together. They swapped bodies and did soul swap train. There's a good possibility that by soul swapping with Yuji, Yuta could have unlocked Cleave and Dismantle through that means. Granted, remember, Yuta never once confirms that he ate the finger. The panel specifically has Sukuna go, "Ah, you ate that. That's where it went." Sukuna could be wrong. The chapter ends on the last and final Sukuna finger in existence. It all comes down to this last and final finger that is tied and hidden inside the spiral staircase. I think the major reason why you're hearing a lot of people think Nobara's coming back is because this is a perfect moment to set up a soul resonance, where the soul resonance hits the Sukuna finger right at the perfect moment for Sukuna to get fucking stun locked and hit, and then Yuji soul dismantles to finish the job. Yeah, I'm very curious to see what happens. The final finger has been something that's been theorized about for almost a year now, and it's interesting to see it finally come into play. And this is a perfect cliffhanger. This isn't a cliffhanger for once where we're like, oh, what's Sukuna gonna do to get out of this one? This is a cliffhanger where we're like, oh shit, Sukuna might be cooked here.